welcome to another journey through the celestial hierarchies. Today, we explore one of the most enigmatic figures in angelology, Sandalphon, the towering archangel whose very name means co-brother or together brother in Greek. Before we ascend into these mysteries, if you find value in this exploration of sacred knowledge, please subscribe and follow this channel. Your support helps us continue uncovering the hidden wisdom of the angelic realms. Sandalphon holds a distinction shared by only one other angel in all of heaven. According to rabbinic tradition preserved in the Talmud and later elaborated in mystical texts, Sandalphon once walked the earth as a mortal man. The Targum Yonatan identifies him as the prophet Elijah, who ascended to heaven without passing through mortal death. This transformation from human to angel sets Sandalphon apart from the vast angelic hosts created directly by the divine. This transformation appears in the Zohar, where the mystical tradition preserves the memory of how the whirlwind that took Elijah to heaven did not simply transport him but fundamentally changed his very essence. This human origin becomes the foundation for his most sacred duty. The Sefer Raziel Hamalach, a medieval Kabbalistic text, describes this metamorphosis in its third section, explaining that when Elijah's mortal form passed through the celestial spheres, each layer of heaven added to his stature until he became the tallest of all angels. Where other angels are measured in ordinary celestial terms, Sandalphon's height is described in the Babylonian Talmud as a journey of 500 years from feet to head. This measurement is not metaphorical. The rabbinical sources treat it as literal, emphasizing that Sandalphon towers above his fellow angels as a great cedar towers above grass. The name Sandalphon itself carries deep significance. Unlike the names of most angels which end in El, meaning of God, Sandalphon's name derives from the Greek symphonia, meaning co-brother or together sound. This etymology appears in scholarly analysis of the Targum Jonathan, where some commentators suggest the name refers to Sandalphon's role as the brother angel to Metatron, who is himself the transformed Enoch. The Ma'aseh Merkava, a text from the Merkaba mystical tradition, calls him Sandalphon the angel, noting in its seventh palace description that his name reflects his function of joining together the prayers of Israel into a unified chorus. Sandalphon's position in the heavenly hierarchy is precisely defined in Kabbalistic literature. He stands in Malkuth, which is the lowest position on the spiritual ladder called the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life is a diagram in Jewish mysticism that shows 10 levels or spheres called Sephirot, representing the different stages through which divine energy flows from heaven down to earth. This placement is documented in the Pardes Rimonim by Moses Cordovero, where Cordovero explains that Sandalphon serves as the guardian of the physical world's connection to the divine. Unlike the archangels who dwell in the higher spheres, Sandalphon maintains his station at the very base of the divine emanations, closest to Earth itself. The Berith Menucha, a 13th century Kabbalistic work, describes in its second section that Sandalphon stands upon Earth while his head reaches into the seventh heaven. This imagery emphasizes his unique role as a bridge. His feet touch the material realm, while his crown penetrates the highest spiritual dimensions. He is literally the connection between above and below, the cosmic ladder upon which prayers ascend. The primary function of Sandalphon, the role for which he is most renowned throughout Jewish mystical literature, is as the master weaver of prayers. The Zohar describes how every prayer spoken by human lips rises like smoke from an altar, traveling upward through the layers of heaven until it reaches Sandalphon. There, standing behind the divine chariot, the Merkaba, he gathers these prayers. But Sandalphon does not merely collect prayers, he transforms them. According to Masechet Haikalot, found in the Batei Midrashot collection, Sandalphon takes the prayers of Israel and weaves them into crowns, or keterim. These are not decorative objects, but living constructs of spiritual power. Each crown contains thousands upon thousands of prayers bound together by Sandalphon's hands, and each crown is then placed upon the head of God himself. The Sefer HaZohar specifies that he uses the holy language to bind these prayers together, whispering divine names over them to sanctify and strengthen them. The alphabet of Rabbi Akiva, in its exposition on the letter Samek, tells us that Sandalphon determines which prayers are worthy to ascend higher, and which must return to earth for the petitioner to refine. He examines each prayer for sincerity, for proper intention which the Kabbalists call kavana, and for alignment with divine will. Pure prayers he immediately weaves into the crowns. Prayers mixed with selfishness he purifies, burning away the dross and preserving what is genuine. Prayers motivated by malice he rejects entirely, sending them back to their speakers. His judgment is instantaneous and perfect, based not on the surface content, but on the deep truth of the heart that spoke them. Religious texts emphasize that this work never ceases. There is no moment when Sandalphon rests, no Sabbath for the guardian of prayers. Even when one part of the world sleeps, another part wakes and prays. The prayers of the dying rise alongside the prayers of the newborn. Sandalphon attends to all, his vast consciousness somehow encompassing the entire spectrum of human spiritual expression. Sandalphon wields specific powers that distinguish him from other angels. First among these is his authority over the unborn. The Talmud speaks of an angel who determines the fate of each embryo, and Kabbalistic tradition identifies this angel as Sandalphon. He watches over souls in the moment before they enter the physical world, guiding them toward the bodies they will inhabit and the destinies they will fulfill. This power over gestation makes him a patron of expectant mothers and newborn children. Second, Sandalphon possesses the power to differentiate between male and female energies in the spiritual realm. The Zohar explains that Sandalphon perceives the divine masculine and feminine principles and facilitates their union. This makes him an angel of sacred relationships and divine balance. When the masculine and feminine aspects of creation fall into discord, Sandalphon works to restore their harmony through the prayers he weaves, which contain both assertive petition and receptive gratitude. Third, and perhaps most remarkably, Sandalphon has power over certain demonic forces. The Testament of Solomon mentions in its 15th section that Sandalphon has authority over Kunopagos, a demon of the sea. While the text does not elaborate extensively, it establishes the principle that Sandalphon can bind and command specific entities of darkness, particularly those that threaten pregnant women and infants. The ancient texts specify particular times when Sandalphon's power reaches its zenith. According to the Sefer Yetzirah, Sandalphon's influence peaks during the hours of prayer, Shacharit, Mincha, and Ma'ariv, the morning, afternoon, and evening services. At these moments, when the Jewish people worldwide lift their voices in unified prayer, Sandalphon's form blazes with celestial fire, his hands moving at speeds incomprehensible to mortal perception as he weaves crown after crown. The Zohar Shadash indicates that Sandalphon achieves particular potency on the Sabbath, when prayers are considered doubly precious. On this holy day, the crowns he creates shine with greater brilliance and rise more swiftly to the throne of glory. Similarly, during the high holy days, Sandalphon's role becomes crucial, as he must weave the prayers of repentance, the confessions, and the pleas for forgiveness into crowns that will influence divine judgment. The Sefer Raziel also suggests that Sandalphon's power intensifies at dawn, the moment when darkness and light meet. At this threshold time, the veil between worlds grows thin, and Sandalphon's ability to hear prayers and transmit them upward increases exponentially. Mystics seeking to petition heaven are therefore advised to pray at dawn, when Sandalphon stands most ready to receive their words. Several legends specifically feature Sandalphon, preserved in Midrashic and mystical literature. The most famous appears in Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, which tells of a wicked man who mocked the prayers of the righteous. This man would stand outside the synagogue and laugh at those who prayed, calling them fools for speaking to empty air. One night he dreamed that he stood before a great being whose head touched the stars and whose feet rested on earth. The being held in his hands crowns woven from light, and as the man watched, he saw his own mocking words falling to the ground as black drops that burned holes in the earth wherever they landed. The being, identified as Sandalphon, spoke only once, teaching that what a person builds in life, whether honor or ruin, is a matter of choice. The man awoke transformed and spent his remaining years in prayer and repentance. Another legend, found in the Otsar Midrashim, tells of a woman whose child was stillborn. She prayed ceaselessly for 7 days and 7 nights, refusing food or comfort. Her prayers rose so pure and so filled with love that Sandalphon himself descended the ladder of his own form, carrying the soul of the child and restored it to life. The text emphasizes that this miracle occurred not because the woman's grief was greater than others, but because her prayers contained no bitterness, no accusation against heaven, only love and trust. Sandalphon responded to the purity of her heart. The Sefer HaYashar, a medieval Hebrew midrash, preserves a story about a community threatened by plague. The rabbi instructed all the people to pray at once, synchronizing their words so that a single unified prayer would rise to heaven. When they did so, witnesses reported seeing a column of light extending from the center of the congregation upward beyond sight. Within 3 days, the plague had ceased. The community understood that Sandalphon had woven their unified prayer into a crown of such power that it compelled divine mercy. A particularly moving legend appears in the Ma'aseh book, a collection of Yiddish tales. It tells of a simple shepherd who could not read Hebrew and knew no formal prayers. Each day, he stood upon the hillside and recited the Hebrew alphabet, offering the letters to the Master of the universe and entrusting him to form them into the prayers he himself could not speak. The learned men of his village mocked him for this childish practice. But when a great mystic visited the village, he declared that the shepherd's prayers rose higher and shone brighter than all the elaborate liturgies of the learned, because they came from perfect humility and trust. The 3 Enoch, also called Sefer HaKalot, provides detailed information about Sandalphon's station in the celestial realms. In the text describes how Sandalphon stands behind the divine chariot, the Merkava, in the 7th heaven called Erebath. This is the highest of all heavens where the throne of glory resides. Yet Sandalphon's unique height means that while he serves in the 7th heaven, his feet remain in contact with the lower worlds. The text specifies that Sandalphon stands to the left side of the chariot, while his twin brother Metatron stands to the right. Together they form the 2 pillars supporting the throne. Where Metatron serves as the celestial scribe, recording deeds and decrees, Sandalphon serves as the celestial priest, offering the prayers of humanity as incense before the divine presence. 3 Enoch notes that Sandalphon is called the tall angel, the one who stands, emphasizing that unlike other angels who fly or process, Sandalphon maintains his station constantly. His stillness is not inactivity, but perfect attentiveness. He is always listening, always present, always ready to receive prayers. Beyond the legends, specific miracles are attributed to Sandalphon's intercession in rabbinic literature. The Midrash Talpiot records that during the Babylonian exile, when the Jewish people could not access the temple in Jerusalem, they feared their prayers would not reach heaven without the proper sacrificial system. Sandalphon, according to this Midrash, appeared to the prophet Daniel in a vision, and explained that he would continue to gather prayers and present them before the throne, making the people themselves into living temples whose words served as offerings. This miracle, the continuation of divine connection despite the loss of the physical temple, is attributed to Sandalphon's faithfulness. The Yalkut Shimoni, a compilation of Midrashim, includes a teaching that Sandalphon once saved an entire city from destruction. The city's inhabitants had grown wicked, and the angels of judgment prepared to destroy it. But one righteous woman continued to pray each dawn, and her prayers reached Sandalphon. He wove her words into a crown and placed it before the divine presence. The crown glowed with such innocent beauty that mercy overcame judgment, and the city was spared for the sake of this single woman's prayers. The story parallels Abraham's negotiation for Sodom, but credits Sandalphon as the mechanism by which individual righteousness can protect entire communities. Another miracle appears in the Sefer Hasidim, the medieval German pietistic text, tells of a scholar who lost his ability to speak after a terrible illness. Unable to pray aloud, he fell into despair. But in a dream, Sandalphon came to him and explained that prayers of the heart reach heaven more swiftly than prayers of the mouth, because they require no sound to carry them upward. The scholar awoke consoled and spent the rest of his life in silent meditation, his prayers said to create crowns of exceptional purity, because they contained no possibility of empty words or performative speech. An often overlooked aspect of Sandalphon concerns his relationship to music and sound. The Zohar mentions that Sandalphon not only weaves prayers but also harmonizes them, adjusting their pitch and rhythm so they blend into a perfect celestial symphony. This musical dimension reflects his name's connection to symphonia. According to this teaching, each prayer carries its own tone or frequency, determined by the emotional and spiritual state of the one who prays. Anger creates a harsh, discordant note. Love creates a sweet, harmonious tone. Fear creates a trembling, uncertain sound. Sandalphon takes these disparate notes and arranges them into chords and melodies that please the divine ear. A prayer that might seem inadequate alone becomes beautiful when Sandalphon combines it with complementary prayers from other souls. The Sefer HaBahir, an early Kabbalistic text, states that Sandalphon knows the secret name of every created thing, and by speaking these names, he tunes creation itself like an instrument. When disharmony arises in the world, war, famine, plague, Sandalphon intensifies his work, gathering more prayers and weaving them more quickly, using their combined power to restore cosmic harmony. In contemporary spiritual art, Sandalphon frequently appears holding a harp, though this imagery represents a modern interpretation rather than an element from ancient Jewish mystical sources. The original texts, particularly the Talmud, identify him as a Hazan, a master of heavenly song, referring to his role in harmonizing prayers and celestial music, but they mention no specific instrument. Over time, modern spiritual writers have transformed this abstract musical function into concrete visual symbolism, depicting Sandalphon as a harpist. The harp emerged as the instrument of choice because of its deep biblical associations with prayer and praise, most notably in the Psalms of David. Contemporary sources now describe him as a divine musician who plays the harp before God's throne, often portrayed in flowing white robes with a golden, luminous harp in his hands. This evolution illustrates how ancient mystical concepts are reinterpreted through visual and cultural symbols that make abstract spiritual truths more tangible to modern seekers. Beyond his role as weaver of prayers, Sandalphon serves a protective function specifically mentioned in the alphabet of Ben Sira and elaborated in later Kabbalistic texts. Because of his authority over the unborn and his position at the boundary between earth and heaven, he guards against demonic interference during pregnancy and childbirth. Women in danger of miscarriage traditionally invoke Sandalphon's protection. Amulets bearing his name, written in Hebrew, are placed in birthing rooms. This protective role extends to guarding prayers themselves from demonic corruption. In the Kabbalistic system of divine emanations and their dark reflections, each holy force has a corresponding unholy opposite. The Qliphoth, or shells of impurity, mirror the Sephirot in twisted form. Just as Sandalphon guards Malkuth, so too does a demonic entity preside over the corresponding realm of darkness. This counterpart is known in some texts as Lilith, the queen of demons, who rules over the Qlipha of Malkuth, called Nehemoth or Nehema. The Zohar describes how Lilith seeks to intercept prayers before they can reach Sandalphon, to corrupt them or redirect them toward impure purposes. Where Sandalphon weaves prayers into crowns for the divine, Lilith attempts to unravel prayers into scattered words that lose their power and fall back to earth as curses or confusion. Other sources, particularly the treatise on the left emanation, identify Sandalphon's opposite as Samael, the poison of God. This text, dated to the 13th century, explains that while Sandalphon advocates for humanity before the heavenly court, presenting the crowns of prayer as evidence of human devotion, Samael presents the sins and failings of humanity as evidence for judgment. The two stand in eternal opposition, one lifting humanity's best offerings, the other exposing humanity's worst transgressions. The struggle between Sandalphon and these dark forces is not described as direct combat, but as a cosmic balancing. When prayers are pure and numerous, Sandalphon's crowns outweigh the accusations. When prayers diminish or become corrupted by selfish intent, the forces of the Qliphoth gain influence. This dynamic underscores the Kabbalistic teaching that human beings, through their spiritual practice, tip the scales of cosmic justice. The mystical literature provides specific methods for those who wish to call upon Sandalphon's intercession. The Shoshan Sodot, a 16th century Kabbalistic text, instructs that one must first purify oneself through ritual immersion, then enter a state of deep meditation focusing on the Sephira of Malkuth. The practitioner visualizes a column of light extending from earth to the highest heaven, understanding this column as Sandalphon himself. The invocation, according to the Sefer Mafteach Shalomo, requires the petitioner to face east toward Jerusalem and to speak their prayer in Hebrew if possible, as this is the language Sandalphon uses in weaving his crowns. The Maaseh Merkava adds that one should pray with extreme devotion, directing full intention and awareness toward each word. Sandalphon responds not to eloquence but to sincerity. A simple prayer, spoken with complete focus and genuine need, reaches him more surely than elaborate liturgy recited by rote. The text emphasizes that one must examine one's own heart before calling on Sandalphon, ensuring the request serves divine will and not merely personal desire. Furthermore, the Zohar suggests that prayers accompanied by acts of charity or kindness create stronger threads for Sandalphon to weave. When a petition rises to heaven alongside evidence of the petitioner's compassion toward others, Sandalphon can craft a crown of exceptional beauty and power. This teaching reinforces the principle that spiritual and ethical practice form an integrated whole. The presence of Sandalphon manifests through specific signs detailed in the mystical texts. The Sefer HaHezionot records that Sandalphon's approach is preceded by a sensation of immense peace, as though all anxiety suddenly drains from the body. This peace is not passive but active, a feeling of being held, supported, as if standing on perfectly solid ground after a period of uncertainty. The Zohar describes a fragrance that accompanies Sandalphon, a scent like myrrh and frankincense mingled together. This aroma, the text explains, comes from the essence of accumulated prayers, which release their fragrance as Sandalphon gathers them. Those who smell this particular combination of scents during prayer or meditation may understand it as a sign that their words have reached the Great Weaver. Visual manifestations are rare but documented. The Merkava Rabbah, one of the central texts of Jewish mysticism, indicates that some mystics perceive Sandalphon as a towering figure of brilliant white light, sometimes tinged with gold or green. The green, according to commentators, represents his connection to the earth and to growing things, while the gold represents the divine light flowing through him. His form appears less defined than other angels, more like a column or pillar than a human shape, reflecting his function as a conduit between realms. The Sefer Raziel mentions that Sandalphon's presence may be known through the sudden intensification of one's own prayers. Words that previously felt hollow suddenly carry weight. Phrases that seemed empty suddenly overflow with meaning. This shift in the quality of prayer indicates that Sandalphon has drawn near to receive the offering of words. In the figure of Sandalphon, we encounter an angel who embodies the profound truth that the gap between human and divine is not an empty void, but a living presence, a bridge built from prayers and intentions, a ladder extending from the dust of earth to the throne of eternity. He is the proof that every word spoken in sincerity reaches its destination, that no prayer is lost or forgotten, that the deepest yearnings of the human heart matter in the cosmic order. Thank you for joining this exploration of the Archangel Sandalphon. If this journey has illuminated your understanding, please share it with others who seek knowledge of the celestial realms. May your own prayers rise swiftly to the hands of the Great Weaver, and may they be woven into crowns of light. Until we meet again in the next episode, may you walk in wisdom and peace.